Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Tell you what, as much as I'm enjoying being back in the BARI Banter seats, it was really nice to be in the camper van seats the last week, where we did a bit of a trip for the last week, went up to 1770. We did like a four-night thing where we went, what was the first, where we went?
Rainbow Beach, Kulula Cove.
And then we went to Bagara and then up 1770. No, we went somewhere in between that. Harvey Bay, we stopped for lunch. Yeah, either way, it was a great lifestyle to live for a week, and we want more.
And we could totally just set up BARI Banter in the back of the van and travel around and interview people in person.
It would be way cooler. We actually said this when we were up there. I think it was 1770. Said, imagine just like pulling up on the beach up there and just like meeting up with someone, everything in the bariatric community, and just like, you know, doing the little podcast and then, you know, having a catch up in person and stuff like that. It'd be so much cooler. You know, we can dream, but at the end of the day, the only people we can see are people in Queensland at the moment anyway. So it'd be very limited.
Queensland's quite big though, so we could definitely make it happen. But
yeah.
I just want a van. Any excuse for me to get a van.
It was a great way to live. Like I was so surprised at how, like, because I said this a few times, I have a minimalist mentality, but a hoarder lifestyle. So it's like, I love vans, but I just, I'm just such a hoarder. Like I've got so much junk, and it's just, I just need to move it so I can just get in a van and do it like that.
I loved the fact that cleaning the house was so easy, because it was like I opened the side door,
plates.
I opened the back door, and the wind just like blew everything out. It was amazing. And they only had 2 plates and 2 coffee cups to clean. The best.
What was your favorite part of it anyway?
I just really loved how we had nothing planned, and it was just sort of just go to beautiful places and just park up, open the door, relax, and then sort of just look at the map again and just plan it from there. Like it was just really free.
Yeah.
Because I've been very stressed and anxiety ridden a little bit lately. Like it was just really nice to just not have to be anywhere, do anything. It was just so relaxing.
I'm actually surprised by that with you, because like you are someone who makes plans to have plans. Like, so for you to be like, my favorite part was not having plans. Like it was just literally, we've got to end up there at the end of the day. We'll find somewhere to kind of pull up the van and sleep that night. It quite surprised me.
What was your favorite part?
I enjoyed the time with you, but I enjoyed, like, it put me a little bit outside my comfort zone in a few things, because like I'm such a goody two shoes. Even to like we were camping, not illegally, but we were camping in spots that had no camping signs, and you know my anxiety kind of on the first night was pretty like crazy, and like I dreamt a few times that I got woken up by someone and they were like, you got to move and we're going to find you and and I had dreams and stuff, because obviously my anxiety was in my head. But by the end of it, we were just like, oh yeah, we'll just stay here, it'll be fine. And like we got so used to that, I don't know, it felt like I wasn't so controlled by, like I'm so like controlled by people's rules. Like I am very much like, I as much as I'm like, oh, I don't like that rule, I'll still abide by it. Yeah. Because I am like that.
A stickler for the rules. I really enjoyed the last spot that we stayed, actually, because it was a free campsite around the back of like Harvey Bay Information Centre, and all the RVs and everything was set up there. And we met this lovely old guy, Ian.
Great guy.
He just wanted to have a chat. He was 76, living by himself in his van and his houseboat and just travelling around. He was a legend.
Him and his pet dog, COVID. Every time COVID came up, he was like... Where's my dog? You talking about my dog, right? And I was like, oh no. He goes, oh yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
That was another great thing, not having to wear masks the whole time.
I know. Up there.
Gosh.
I know. I feel bad for Melbourne and Sydney, but we have it pretty good. But either way, it was a great adventure. And someone else who's been taking a few adventures, if you look through his Instagram, is our guest today. He's one of those people who's like stepped outside of his comfort zone and started like, you know, trying new things. So without further ado, let's get him on and have a quick chat.
Excellent. Well, our guest today was sleeved just over a year ago. He had a start weight of 176 kilos and he's managed to drop a whopping 65 kilos already. Here to talk to us today about his journey thus far is Shaun, also known as @NotSoBig_Shaun on Instagram. Hi.
Hey guys, how you going?
Yeah, very well. Thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to sit down with you. I guess we just start off by saying, asking like, how has your process been? Like, how has the couple of years? 2 years? Did you say then? 2 years? I've just got back from a really long run, guys. Just FYI, and my brain is not working, so I'm like, Yeah, give me a second.
You've
It's been about
1 year.
15 months.
15
Sorry,
months,
15 months.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought a year and a half because I like read it before, and then I was like a year and a 2 years now because when the form was done.
How's your first 15 months been?
Oh wow.
Yeah, look, it's been really good. I'm one of the lucky people, I guess, that haven't had too many issues. I'm pretty, the process has worked out supposed to, I guess. I went in, had my surgery, no complications. I struggled a little bit straight after surgery with the liquid and soft food phases, but once I got through that, everything's been pretty smooth sailing from there.
That's really good. And because you said as well, you've had quite a few people within your family have had the surgery as well. I think you said your wife, your brother and your sister-in-law maybe. All three of them have also had the surgery. Do you think that having seen them go through that definitely helped your process and made it a little bit easier?
Absolutely. So my wife had the surgery 3 months after I did. And my brother was maybe 6 weeks after I did. So we all kind of went through it together.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was a little bit of a guinea pig for them, I guess. My sister-in-law had it 3 years prior to me. So I kind of got a gauge from her, got to see her journey, I guess, and knew what to expect, which was good. And then, yeah, like I said, all three of us have gone through it together, and we've all, supported each other in that. And I think, I know you guys have had a few people on before, couples who've had the surgery together, and like it's just so good to have someone who knows what you're going through and can support you and knows when you're having a bad day, and all the little intricacies that go with having weight loss surgery. It's good to just have someone going through them with you so they understand, and it makes it a little bit easier, I guess.
Preaching to the choir, brother. It's kind of why I clung on to leader.
Because all three of you had your surgery around the same time then. Have you found, like, watching your wife and your brother go through it as well, have you had very similar journeys or have they been completely different?
They haven't been the same. Obviously, we've been through similar experiences lifestyle-wise. But in terms of weight loss and progress and stuff, it has been different. I've kind of really, committed myself, thrown myself into the process. So I took up exercise pretty early in the process, whereas my wife is a little bit more trust the process, I guess, and she's not as keen on the exercise side of things. So we've kind of been different in that sense. And she has, look, I couldn't do it. We have 2 kids, and it was really important for me from the get-go to sort of throw myself into it and make sure I was taking advantage of that initial stage. And it's just something you'll relate to, Shannon, is setting up those good habits
100%.
From the beginning. And to be honest, I couldn't have done it without her support. So she's been 100% supportive in that's the way I need to tackle this, and giving me the time to be able to do that. Even though she, doesn't follow the same processes, she's got her own stuff that she does and works for her.
Yep.
But I guess we're different in that way that I kind of, like I said, I needed to really keep myself on track and focused on what I wanted to achieve. Whereas she's a little bit more go with the flow. And like you asked if we'd had similar outcomes, I guess, or results. A little bit to my chagrin, I guess, that she's probably been more successful than me, which is awesome. I'm not she's done awesome, but it's kind of like I've worked really hard, and I feel like maybe I could have got a bit more out of what I was doing, but not to say I'm disappointed. I'm really happy with where I'm at, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be just yet. But and like I said, having each other's support, knowing what we're going through, has really helped. My brother, I guess, is in a similar situation. He didn't have as much weight to lose as I did, but he works a fairly physical job, so he's kind of, again, the same, kind of just gone with the process. And yeah, he's pretty happy with where he's at the moment as well.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel the relationship dynamics change? Do you feel like there's been changes within the relationship because of the bariatric surgery, or is it?
Okay, I know you guys talk a lot about, you know, statistics around relationship breakdown and stuff after bariatric surgery, but I guess we've been conscious. That is something we talked about initially. But I guess we didn't shy away from the changes. We understood that we were changing. That's what we were supposed to do. And the fact that we both understood what was happening, I guess, helped us because we could talk about it, and we knew, you know, we were. The whole point of us doing it was to make the changes, and we understood that they weren't just physical. So to be able to go through it together and understand, you know, I guess take the positives. The changes were positive. Obviously, I know some people go through bariatric surgery and, you know, they change within themselves. They become more confident. They become, you know, they focus on different things. Their priorities change. And that can be, I guess, confronting in a relationship when one person's changing and the other one's not.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it affects both people. If I'm changing and my partner's not, then I'm, you know, becoming a better person, I guess, and they don't want to come along on that journey, then that can cause a problem, and vice versa. If you see your partner's changing and you don't particularly want to go along that journey, then, you know, that's going to be confronting for you as well. So I can see why that happens, but like I said, we were well aware of those changes because we'd both been through the process and we both understood what was happening, and we both embraced the fact that we needed to make change. And so, and like I said before, I was committed from the beginning, and we both were, to understanding and to following through and identifying what those changes should be, so that we were aware of them and we could sort of be accountable to each other.
And I love that too, because like, as you said before, if there's one person that's changing and the other person doesn't necessarily want to change with them, or, you know, they don't acknowledge that they're changing with them, the beautiful thing is that you guys are both changing together. Yeah. Which I think also is a really great thing. So even though, as you said before, you know, you're doing your exercise and you do things that are different to your wife, at least you're both changing and you're growing as individuals, but together, if that makes sense.
Well, I'd love to see the statistic of marriage breakdowns. I think it was 40 or 60. Which one was it? 60. It was 60%, wasn't it? So 60% of like marriages break down after bariatric surgery. But I think that's mainly bariatric and non-bariatric relationships. I think the statistic would be a lot less when it's bariatric, because like I found in the bariatric community, if they get it together, it almost bonds them closer because they grow together again. It's almost like they're starting fresh again, and they're kind of like growing not so much apart, but like, you know, on their own lines, but next to each other kind of thing. So yeah, I'd love to know that statistic. A
chance to restart and refresh together.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I think it's purely a mindset thing. Like, because we're both on the same track, we both understand, you know, what we're trying to achieve. Whereas, I think maybe if people aren't completely open about what they're doing when they have bariatric surgery with their partner, and not completely honest with themselves, I guess, about, you know, wanting to change, and they're not discussing that with their partner, then that, you know, that's going to lead to problems down the track, obviously. So, yeah, I don't know how. Obviously, I'm not in that situation, so it's hard to comment. But
like you kind of said it then, like I think communication is key in relationships in many aspects. But I think with this process, bariatric process, it's a good thing to communicate. Like, hey, I'm making these changes. I would appreciate if you know, supported me in these things or whatever it is. Like that's communication. I think that's really important to, you know, making that bond stick.
I think in my case too, because I was one of the statistics where I ended up breaking up with my partner after surgery, and we had the discussion leading into surgery that, you know, it could have been a thing. But I think it was almost like towards the end, it became the reason, so to speak. Like he kept on saying to me like, oh, you've changed so much. You got skinny, so you didn't like me anymore, blah, blah. And I feel as if we both kind of knew that it was coming to an end anyway. And he was just using that as the excuse. Like it was almost like the out. So like that sucked for me.
But make himself feel better about it.
Yeah.
And like kind of push the blame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of thing.
He can use that as the excuse, like you say.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you only get one life. So, you know, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, you know.
Can't make a shoe fit.
Don't make a square peg go in a circle hole. You know, so what, like you said your partner was 3 years, or your sister was 3 years before you? Who was?
My sister-in-law.
So how long after you was your partner did she have her surgery?
About 3 months. So initially, I decided to do it and we talked about it a lot. Again, that communication thing, talking about why I wanted to do it and what I wanted to get out of it, all that kind of stuff before we made the final decision. So yeah, I decided pretty much like once I'd made the decision, that was it. I was doing it. And then she's like, "Oh, well, I'll use you as a bit of a guinea pig and see how it all works." And pretty much the day I got home from the hospital, she said, "That's it, I'm doing it."
Wow.
So she booked in that week.
Yeah. What was your why? Like,
Yeah, what was the reason
was your
behind
sister
it?
played a big part of like why you decided to take this leap, or was there other things that played into it for you?
So about probably about 8 years ago now, I went and saw a gastroenterologist. I was having some digestion issues, and he kind of had a bit of a poke around and discussed what the issue was, and then just out of the blue sort of said to me, "Have you considered weight loss surgery?" And I was like, "Oh, no, not really." And he goes, "Oh, you probably should have a think about it, because once you get to a certain point, there's no other option. Like you guys have talked about with everyone else, that once you get to a certain point, your body gets comfortable, and even if you lose the weight, you end up putting it all back on again." So
100%.
that kind of planted the seed. Like I said, that was about 8 years ago now. But and then my sister-in-law had it 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now. But I still hadn't really considered it at the time. When the gastroenterologist suggested it to me, I sort of went, "Oh, no, it's not for me." And same thing everyone goes through. I was like, "No, I'm not at that point yet. I can still lose this weight and do it myself, and I don't need to be that extreme." And then kind of, left it at that. And then my sister-in-law had it, and it kind of popped up again, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if that's what I want." And then I saw her success, and obviously from that point on, it was kind of always there, because I was spending time with her and seeing the success that she was having, and my wife and I had talked about it a couple of times during that time. But I guess a lot of the thinking leading up to it was kind of where I was personally and emotionally, and it was. I used to say it's never really physical, but to be honest, like I was so uncomfortable and so down on myself for being the way I was, that it kind of affected every aspect of my life. I wouldn't admit it to myself, and I wouldn't sort of tell people, typical. You guys have probably seen some photos on Instagram of me. I used to have a big, long, bushy beard. Yeah. And I kind of identified as the big guy with the big red beard. Like that was my persona. So when you place so much, and other people place so much of that identity on the way you look, it kind of changing that raises a lot of questions. Like, what if I lose this weight, then
who am I?
You? Yep.
Yeah. And it was never, like I said, I never really used my weight. I never admitted to myself that it was who I was, and it was affecting everything I did pretty much. But when you look back, like that's how I identified. That's how other people saw me. So it clearly was. And not to mention, you put on top of that being uncomfortable, my inability to do things with my kids, and I had a real social issue. I didn't like going out in public, going to events, getting dressed up, just because I felt uncomfortable. I didn't, my wife and I go to the theatre a lot, and I stopped, and my kids are into the performing arts, so they do a lot of shows and stuff during the year. Normally, obviously not this year, but so we would go to the theatre a lot, and I would really dread the days leading up to it. I would dread it because I'd wonder if my clothes still fit. Sitting in those little boxy seats and having someone sit right close to you would be like really anxiety inducing for me. Yeah. So, there's no doubt that it was affecting my life, day to day. And I just hadn't admitted that to myself. I guess I'd kind of shut all that sort of stuff out and focused more on, the things I could do and the value I brought in other areas.
Yeah.
Which, in the reflection process of this journey, is super evident that, I tricked myself into believing my value laid in one place at the expense of, my health and my emotional well-being.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And like, it's funny because you said one thing there where I was kind of like, it's always been a feeling I've had that I haven't been able to like really put words to it, but it was like that, you almost feel like a weight's been lifted in the social aspect of life, which I think is the biggest reward, definitely in like that first 2 years of just being able to feel like, you know, like you just said before, going to the theatre and then feeling like, oh, if someone sits there, I'm probably going to have to sit there with my arm like in on my leg the whole time because I'll feel like I'm encroaching. And those little things that you just totally you don't do anymore. And it's not a thought.
Or just that uncomfortable feeling. Like when you were just talking just then, I was remembering